Hello and welcome back to the show. On today's episode, we have healing breathwork facilitator Kat McCarthy joining us, and she's going to be sharing with us the powerful and profound benefits of breathwork. Through her own personal experience and guiding others, she's found a style of breathwork that supports the nervous system, helps relieve stress and anxiety, and promotes positive well-being. Breath is this whole spectrum that I'm deeply curious about and I'm really looking forward to exploring. So let's dive in. Okay, welcome back to the show, everyone, and welcome, Kat. I am so happy to
Hey
have you
Molly.
here. Hello. So for those that are joining the show that maybe potentially have heard about breathwork, because I feel like breathwork is very much in the field right now. I feel like breathwork is quite a big thing. It's a bit of like a buzzword, and I'm really excited to kind of explore a little bit more about breathwork and your style of breathwork. So I guess my first initial question for you is to what initially drew you to breathwork? And can you share with us a little bit about your journey with where you were before you found breathwork?
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for having me, Molly. It's a pleasure to be here and have a chat with you today. So yeah, it was really my own need to improve my own mental health and well-being that led me to, try all different types of um, wellness activities and things that can help you feel less stressed, less anxious. And I actually tried this breathwork practice during COVID in Portugal. There were times when it was kind of there, as everyone will remember, when we were in lockdown, and there was a time when you could go to things, and I went to this session, and it was led by my wonderful friend Brittany, and I just found it so powerful, and I felt so calm and peaceful, but also had such clarity in my mind, and I just was like, wow, this is amazing, and kept going. And then from there, I kind of got more and more out of the sessions, like emotional releases, healing, and so much more than helping with my anxiety, with my stress. Um, and then that's why I felt like this is needed and I want to share this with other people. And so that led me on my journey to doing my training, and yeah, going really deep into breath work, learning all different styles. And the one that I teach is kind of a combination, and I put my own spin on it, but it's just one that works for me. There are so many different types, and there's different reasons for doing breath work, like Wim Hof, when he's doing those exercises before you get into the ice, it's to kind of prep your body and invigorate your system and give you energy, whereas this is more around deep reflection, healing. It's a very different type of breath work, but there are, all of them can be beneficial, and this one just really worked for me. So
That's so interesting. And I love that you talk about how kind of what led you to breathwork, because it reminds me of kind of like what led me to yoga. It's usually not the thing that makes us stay there. So from what you said, what I understand is that you went to breathwork to help with like anxiety and stress. And then you said, but what you got was so much more. And that was the same for me in yoga. I went there for flexibility, but what I got was so much more. And I would love to hear a little bit more about that in terms of when you say you touched upon it a little bit in terms of emotional release and kind of this deeper healing journey you went on. For somebody maybe that is very new to breathwork, and even myself, say, okay, I want to go to breathwork because of, yeah, like maybe stress, anxiety. When you say there's so much more, what do you mean by that? And how did that show up for you?
Um, yeah, so um, it's kind of hard to explain all the things that can happen, but basically I feel that it helps you to connect with yourself more, with your intuition, inspiration, um, imagination, to be creative, to temporarily shut off that noise in your head, so that negative self-talk, limiting beliefs. It's described as transient hyperfrontality, or being in a state of flow. And so you can really just focus on one thing, um, and then kind of beyond that, as doing this breathing exercise, oxygen's moving around the body, energy shifting. It allows things to come up like emotions, worries, pain, even things you've been storing, holding in the body. So it allows you to, yeah, let go of emotions, or even past traumas that you've been holding on to. Um, and then to have this like overwhelming sense of gratitude for just being here, and being in this moment, and everything that we have to be grateful for, and just being so present. Yeah, I feel like renewed every time I do it.
Mm.
So that's why it was so much more than just calming my anxiety, which it absolutely has helped me. I also went through a phase in my life of having quite severe panic attacks, and I, really believe this has helped me. It's a combination of things. Of course, it's not just breath work, but um, I'm so much better at being able to manage my stress levels, and being able to recognize when those feelings or symptoms are rising, and to take a step back, to not be so reactive to what is happening to me. You can't control life. There are going to be stressful times and all this, but you can take some power back over your mind, your spirit, and it's really helped me to do that, to help myself.
Mm. That's so beautiful. And you talked about how it can release like traumas and emotions in the body. So am I right in thinking then when we go through like a traumatic situation, or we go through some kind of maybe heavy emotion, do we hold the breath, and is that why it gets like locked in the body? And then when we start to breathe into those spaces, is that then what's being released because we're bringing like oxygen into that?
That's a really great way to explain it. And yeah, when we do go through traumatic experiences, it's natural to kind of uh, suppress that down, and not really process what's happened, and to feel that in the body. And like they might compare it to animals, like a dog or something. After a traumatic event, they shake, they get that stuff out of their system. And so yes, there are things that we can hold on to that we haven't fully explored. And in a breathwork session, um, now you can go with an intent. I want to work on this. I want to work on this. But for me personally, and what I hear from people I work with, you don't really know what's going to come up for you. You can try and guide the session, but also you will be surprised by what might come up, and maybe what might be in your system that hasn't been healed, or that needs attention. And it's like this comes up, and you allow it to come up. So it's really important that you feel safe, you feel supported, you feel like you can be vulnerable. And you allow that feeling to come up in your system, and you feel it, you like lean into it, which is almost what we never do. You know, we try and run away from these feelings and push them away because it's painful, and it is painful. It's work, it's hard work to do this, but it's only by fully leaning in, feeling that whole feeling, all the emotions that come with it, that it's able to come up and to be released out of your system. And I can see it in people. They are lighter after, like, their energy, everything is lighter because they've let this stuff go. And it's a weird thing to explain because I don't know, not everyone tells me what's going on in their mind or anything, but I don't need to know. It's about you feeling whatever that is, whatever needs to come up and be processed in your mind, and then finding this, letting it go. But that doesn't mean that. So, for example, let's take grief. I've had quite a few people attend sessions recently that are dealing with grief, which is such a horrible, prolonged, weird thing that humans have to go through. And through these sessions, it doesn't mean that grief is gone, that pain is gone, but it's allowed them to, find a little light, feel a little lighter, like that stepping stone in the right direction, to have a little bit of peace in their heart, and a small way to acceptance, that yeah, it doesn't mean that you won't feel sad and all those things, but this is life. It's all part of life. And so it's also about, like, yeah, just accepting things as they are. And sometimes they will be amazing and sometimes they will be shit. And that's, yeah, just finding some sort of peace in that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love what you just said about kind of like shaking the energy off, because I'm looking after a dog right now, and it's so funny whenever he has like interactions with other dogs, like he shakes his body and I'm like, oh yeah, get that out of you, because like I feel it too.
Wow.
I'm like,
Yes.
and it's so interesting because when I was in Laos, I had an interaction with dogs. It was my first kind of street dog experience. Prior to that, I was a big dog lover, no fear of dogs. I was in India and the dogs would bark at me, and I'd just be like, meh, you're all good, like zero fear. I was in Laos and a pack of dogs, probably about 12 dogs, like stray, feral, big dogs, came at me, surrounded me, and were trying to bite me. And I was just
Oh,
freaking out. And because of the sound and then the face, like it just caused that
right.
trauma in me. And like I can feel it now. It's like like a clench and a holding of the breath. So whenever I would hear that sound in Bali, instantly that trauma is getting triggered, it's getting triggered, it's getting triggered. And what's been so beautiful is that since looking after dogs again now and hearing that sound and seeing how they shake it off, I do it as well. I'm like, oh yeah, like let me just like get rid of that, because like you say, it's in our human way of conditioning and society, we get told to like suppress and hold it down and contract, and everything becomes like this internally, and then we get to a point where it's almost like we can't breathe. Like I remember I used to hold all of my anxiety here in my chest. And I love looking to
Yes.
nature and looking to animals in and children in these areas to learn from, because it's like it happens and then they let it go. It comes in and then they let it go. And it's just like, oh yeah, like just that emotion of children when they just cry or they scream or they yell, or like a dog just barks or they
Right.
shake. And I'm like, wow, like that is so natural, that is the natural essence of that organism that we are as well, that we've just got beliefs and mindset and thinking around, that we've suppressed it. So I love that you make that connection, because I can feel it in my system. I'm like, I'm practicing it now and I'm like, oh, and a breath comes out naturally. And I'm like, I think I'm overcoming that sound. I'm reprogramming that sound's not scary anymore and I can just let it go.
Yes. Absolutely, that's it. And it's just like whatever you need to do, whether it's shaking, dancing, crying, yelling into a pillow, like it's just like transmuting that energy, like getting it out of your system. And it feels so good to have that release. And yeah, your body just feels like freer and yeah, it's an
And
amazing
lighter, like
feeling.
you said, right? There's this lightness that starts to come out, and I think that is something, again, in terms of you touched upon with grief. And I've not done much breath work myself, but I have had quite a lot of grief, especially early on in my life, and that feeling of like going, especially in the Western world, especially in our culture in England, like funerals, and it's just very dark and very sad and very like it's just very small, it's very
Yes, really
contracted, and it's
heavy.
really heavy, really, really heavy. And then going to places like India and going to some of these places where they have celebrations, or in Indonesia where they're like celebrating. It's like this whole different perspective, and there's no right or wrong. It's just sometimes it can help open up the world view, right? And I just think that, like you say, it's this thing again of suppression, where in maybe some of other cultures we suppress the emotion, we suppress the feeling because it's so painful. But by actually allowing that grief to come up, by feeling into it, and that pain lasts way shorter when we access it quicker, if that makes sense. Whereas if we just suppress it and hold on to it, it stays with us for years, and then it festers, it grows, and that's when it becomes like a really dense, heavy energy, right? And that's what you said. People breathe, they breathe life into that, they get it oxygenated, and then they're lighter. They feel lighter,
Yeah,
they look lighter, their energy fields are more open because they're literally letting go of dense, heavy energy, which is incredible.
absolutely. And you, it's a strange thing that you can leave a session like, I feel lighter, like that the saying, a weight off your shoulders, like, but it literally, you can see the difference in people. And um it's quite incredible that you can do that naturally with your breath.
Mhm. And something that's so involuntary, right, that we just don't think about on a day to day. For me, I'm like, I'm like, oh, there's all this breath work stuff, but I'm breathing every single day. So like, why is this so important? And I want to go into that in a second, but something came to me and I feel like I have to ask you because it's just come in. Um, so I guess as a woman growing up, and this is still very prevalent, I would say, in this day and age, is the physique and how we look, right? So for me growing up, I remember on every photo breathing in, like breathe in,
Yeah.
bring the stomach in. And I remember going to a yoga class, and also I was doing musical theatre at the time, and they were trying to get us to breathe into our diaphragms, so that we could access our voice. And then we're doing breath work in yoga, and I couldn't breathe into my belly because for so many years I've been contracting my stomach, and I'm like, I can't have a big stomach, my belly can't expand. And my question to you is, do you see this in women? Have you experienced it yourself because of maybe these years of belief systems, or what it is to be attractive or feminine or slim, and to suck everything in? And then what actually happens when we start to breathe into that space?
Yeah, that's a really wonderful question. And this is something I found when I first started doing this, that I think because I used to do like a bit of acting and stuff, I was always taught you breathe from the diaphragm, because you need to project. And so it wasn't a problem for me, but definitely I would come to sessions and were like, what do you mean breathe from the stomach? I don't know what you mean. Like we breathe up here. And like, yeah, you have to really like explain to people like that when we're breathing properly, our belly should be rising. Um and yeah, that you will feel calmer and more grounded if you focus your breath down there. Like the reason we're anxious is because a lot of us are breathing shallow and we're breathing up here, and that's also why you might feel like someone's energy is bit stressed or yeah. And I also with people, men and women that do weight training, that are used to holding their stomach in, and that takes some practice because it's like tensed your stomach muscles and so used to, and also just yeah, posing for pictures and all this, like you need to show off your muscles, and if you're in that world, and yeah, it's definitely something that takes some time to kind of rewire, but that's really how we should be breathing. Like if you watch a baby sleeping, you will see their belly rising. Like that's when we feel yeah, calm and ourselves, and it has such an impact on the rest of like every part of you, to make sure that you're breathing properly. So yeah, it's definitely something that people sometimes struggle with, and I find it really helps, if you put your hands like on your belly, on your ribs, and really feel like your hands getting pushed out, that really helps people get used to it. Yeah.
Mm. It's so interesting because as you've been talking, I've been like sending my attention to my belly to breathe, and I'm like, oh, I already feel so much calmer. So my invitation to anyone listening right now is for the rest of this conversation, just try and bring some conscious awareness, because like I feel the shift. Because like you say, when we hear like in the clavicle area, like breathing constantly, that's where like the stress happens, right? That's where the anxiety, the shortness of breath happens. But when we come into the belly and we really allow that just to relax, it's like, oh, like yeah, it's almost like kind of a bit of like a shavasana feeling. It's like, I'm good and I'm safe, and something that helped me to start breathing into my belly as well with this awareness, like you said, putting the hands there, and just I think touch really helps, doesn't it? Just like signaling to the body, this is where we need to be breathing into. And something I used to do as well was I used to put like a heavy book on my stomach so that I could try and lift the book with my belly, so that I could start to like reprogram, okay, this is where the breath needs to go. Because sometimes it can, and I've worked with people in yoga in this too, it can be really hard. Like you say, it takes time because for so long we've reconditioned ourselves from going from the belly into the chest, and now we need to go back into the belly. And it can bring up a lot. And like you say, it can be a very vulnerable space, a very exposing space, and it can also bring up emotion. So going gently into it as well. I know for me there was a lot of fear about breathing into my belly. What's going to come up? Oh my God, like what's going to be revealed? What emotions are going to come up? Because I store so much in my belly. So I think also just going at that slower pace as well, when we explore these ranges.
Definitely. And that's something, I found with trying different types of breath work, and why this one kind of like resonated with me is that, yeah, it is a very like vulnerable thing to do. Um, and you need to feel safe and supported and like guided gently. But I always tell people, you go at your own pace. Of course, I'm going to be motivating you. I want you to get the most out of this experience, but you're in control. And if at any point it gets too intense, you just come back to normal nose breathing. And I think that's really important, because I've also, from personal experience, been to sessions where I've probably been pushed a bit too much, which makes my walls come up, and then I'm able to go to that place in myself, like that just doesn't work for me. So I think that's really important to know, that you just, with all these kind of exercises and things, you take your time, experiment, go at your own pace, and yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And you touched upon that, like the different styles of breath work. And again, I related to yoga because that's the closest I can kind of connect to. Um, how did you discover the type of breath work that you're doing now, and what is it?
Sure. So yeah, I did my training the company called Inner Camp. They're based in Spain, and you basically learn all the different styles of breathwork, which was so helpful and eye-opening. And you know, you learn all the science and where it came from, and um, connection to like Eastern cultures and everything. And it's fascinating, and it was such an awesome thing just to go and learn. Um, and yeah, as we were going through, part of the course was that you will learn all these styles, and then at the end, you do what works for you, you know? And so I loved that. Like, there was no pressure to be like, this is what we do, and you will follow this,
Mm.
you know? Because we are all different, and I know what works for me doesn't work for the next person. Like, so there are some styles which are like you've got holotropic and shamanic, and they could be 2 3 hours of active breathing of this technique. Um, and I went to some sessions where it was too intense for me. You know, the um, one, it's a very very long day, and it probably wiped me out for a few days emotionally, energetically, um, and sometimes you need something like that to really release some stuff. But I wanted something that I could do, you know, on a weekly basis. And so this style is probably about 25 30 minutes of active breathing. I'd say it's a bit more in the feminine style, you know, the um, sometimes with the others, like the music can be really loud and tribal. And for me, as like sensitive person, I find that too intense. And it's just stimulation overload. So this yeah, this style is more I guess a bit more gentle, acoustic music, you're guided gently. We still go to that place where you can have a big release, a big transformation, but um, I would say it's at a slower pace, you know, and um, there is time either side of the actual breathing to connect, to feel safe in the space, to feel like you can open up, to sometimes we do journaling, to have that time to integrate, you know, a kind of whole process so that you can leave, go home, and then the next day, you know, be able to go to work or to get on with your day, you know. And it's I see it as like a reset for the new week, you know. And but still feeling like you're able to work on some things within yourself and let go of some worries. And yeah.
Mm.
um yeah, so I feel like this, it's probably a bit more, it's just aligned with who I am as a person, you know. It's kind of my energy. Um and yeah, some people prefer, you know, the ones that are a bit more intense and a bit more like pushing you, and that really works for some people. I just felt this really resonated with me, and I've seen it resonate with other people. And yeah.
Mm. I love that approach, and I can definitely resonate with like stimulation overload. And that's been actually something that's put me off going to some breathwork things, especially when I was in Bali. You talked a little bit about kind of like the shamanic side of it, and I remember just getting glimpses of it here and there, and like the loud music, and then the breathing and all of this. And I actually went to one, and I can't remember the style of it, but it was just as I was kind of in the middle of my healing journey. I was very raw. I was very like vulnerable. I was like kind of coming out of my cocoon, and I went there and they were doing this crazy breath. What felt crazy to me at the time, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is just way too much." They started playing this like really loud music, and like you say, there was people in the room that were just like loving it. They were opening up, they were crying, they were dancing, they were moving, they were breathing, they were like in it, and I was like, "Yeah, you've got this, but I don't." I'm out,
Right.
and I remember I left halfway through the session because I was like, yeah, this just isn't for me. And it's really nice actually to hear that there are these different styles of breath, because I wasn't even fully aware that there was this whole spectrum. And I know that you and I are, I know we know each other quite well, so our energies are very similar. So this style that you talk about, and as a sensitive person, sounds like much more aligned and makes me feel more comfortable about, oh, okay, well, maybe there is this whole area that I've not fully explored then that would actually support me as a sensitive human as well.
Right, absolutely. And it's weird that you say about leaving halfway through. I've met a few people who have said to me when I say I do breathwork, like, oh, that's not for me. Like I went to a session and left and because they had this experience, and I try and explain to them that there is, yeah, many different styles, and um not to like write it off because of that, or because you've seen a video where it looks like what is going on in that room, like um yeah, that there are like ways into it where you can go at your own pace.
Mm.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah, I really love that. And I guess in terms of styles, then, are there certain styles that wouldn't be recommended for certain people? When we talk about breath work, is it safe for anyone to do, or are there parameters?
Sure. So the this like conscious connected breath work or circular breath work, which is the type of breath work that I'm doing, is about connecting with yourself, about releasing emotions, traumas, um, and generally it is open to everyone, but there are times when I say it's not appropriate. So if you currently have a severe mental health issue, um, if you have high blood pressure, glaucoma, suffer from seizures, also pregnancy, then it's not appropriate to do it. Um, but other than that, you're lying down, you're um, you're guided through the breath. If at any point I tell them, if it gets too intense emotionally, but also physically, because there are sensations you feel in the body, then they can just come back to normal nose breathing. So it's, a very natural, safe practice that you are in control of, which, really appealed to me. That yeah, you can do as much or as little as you want, and you can build up to it as well, and lengthen the time that you do it. And yes, um yeah.
And is that the same for, say, if somebody came across something on like YouTube and just like was like, oh, I just want to try this breath, and they're like in their own space, like would that still be safe, or are there like guidelines also to consider with that?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I yes would say probably not to do it on your own at first, to attend a class, even if it's online, or just to be with someone, because to be guided with someone, because exactly what we were saying about when you're breathing from your chest and you're not actually breathing from the belly, like just to make sure that you're doing it properly, because otherwise you might just feel, yeah, a bit sick. I've been to sessions when I've been told to just breathe in and out really fast, like, and I felt really lightheaded and sick, and it wasn't, you know, that helpful. So I think it's really important to find a facilitator and someone to guide you and make sure that you are doing it correctly, because it is such a vulnerable practice as well. If you're in your head about, am I doing this right? Is this okay? You're not going to allow yourself to go to that place to connect with yourself.
Mm.
Um, Now, there are other types of breath work, like box breathing and all those things where there are YouTube videos which are super helpful. And I think anyone can do those. But for this particular one, which is about, yeah, it's more about internal work, I would say definitely go to a class. And it's just like a more lovely way into it as well, for someone to hold that space for you. And um yeah, and it's powerful work. So I think it's good to have someone that you trust and feel safe with.
Mm. Yeah, that's so true, right? It's almost like having a therapist or a counselor or like, somebody that you can talk to about these things that have been like stored within you. You can only see so much of yourself, but sometimes when you actually go to a place and you get guided through an experience, you get so much more from it because you come out of your head and you come into your body. And like you say, having that trust element with somebody that knows what they're doing, can guide you through the experience and be like, this is completely normal. And if you're feeling this, that's okay. And you're going through this whole experience together from start to finish. And I really love the idea of kind of what you say about like this whole rounded experience that you create. And there's like time to reflect and then connect and all these things, because I think that's really part of it, right? It's that integration, because sometimes what can happen is we go to these things, we have these experiences, we like unlock everything, but then it's like, what do we do with it? Where's the integration? Where's it? Oh my God, now I'm seeing something that I didn't know was there. And then that can
Mhm.
be terrifying and it can be exhausting. And then it's like, what do I do with that? Because it's just me with that thing now. So having that safe space that you can process with other people and go through that experience, especially with the type of breath work that you're facilitating, is deep work, right? So like to be able to hold people in that space and allow them to go through it and then process afterwards. I'm sure that that is where a lot of people get the most benefits from coming to your sessions.
Absolutely. Yeah, the integration part is um like one of the most important bits um to journal, or to, some people wanted to speak about it, to, yeah, to process things that came up. And even I tell people to um you know, journal, even if it doesn't make sense right now, because it might do, in a few days or next week. And it's, yeah, that's where you will have clarity. And, you know, that's kind of where the growth comes from. Yeah.
Mm. So what would you say to somebody then in terms of, okay, so they're starting out on their journey, it's probably best that they connect with a facilitator or they go to some kind of group or workshop, and then they have this experience, then what would be like an optimal time for somebody to practice breath work? Is it something that you do on a daily basis, a weekly, a monthly, or does it differ from person to person?
Yeah, I would say I recommend a weekly session, because yeah, it's, you are kind of um, accessing emotions and feelings, and it is deep work. It takes energy. And so a full session is not something I would do every day. For myself personally, I do this breath work to, maybe 3 4 songs, 10 minutes in the morning. And that just like gets me focused and set up for the day. But a full session, yeah, once a week would be, and everyone is different, but I feel like that's a good place to start for sure.
Mm.
and then see, yeah, how you feel after it, how you feel in the days after it as well. It's definitely important after a session um, to go home and be with yourself and have some quiet time and reflection time. And that's why we try and do the sessions, if possible, in the evening. Yeah, just so that you have that time to let everything settle. And yeah.
Mm. And then how do you then, as you're facilitating these experiences, like you said, you're the space holder, right? So people are having these releases, people are going through these amazing transformations and they're releasing so much. How do you as a facilitator protect your own energy and create your own like energetic boundaries in that so that you don't A, become drained by it or B, just become like intertwined with that energy?
That's a good question, and something I'm still working out, Molly. It's still a learning process because yeah, it's like as I'm doing more sessions and people are sharing um their trauma and pain with you. And I am a highly sensitive person. I am a very empathetic person. I feel all of that, and I think that's why I'm doing this work. But with being that kind of person, you are more likely to get burned out or yeah, be energetically drained. And then how can you go and support anyone if you're not feeling good in yourself? So I think reminding yourself of that if you are yeah, holding space for people and supporting people, that you need to um support yourself first. And that means having boundaries, saying no to things. It's very, I love this work, and it's very could be easy to say yes to everything and do it all the time, but I know I can't do that. And I have like other work that I do as well. And so um yeah, just being really mindful of what your energy levels are, how much you can do, and slowly building up, that's what I've tried to do, is to add a bit by bit, and doing all the things that make me feel good, meditating, exercising, eating healthy. Like, I'm very blessed to be in Bali, where like there are so many things that you can go and do, like wellness activities and beach walks and nature. And yeah, I really try to prioritize like my well-being. And then that allows me to like show up for this work, but in every aspect of my life, to um be the best version of myself, and then you can help people. And yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really kind of understanding self and your own limitations, right? Because sometimes we think like, yeah, like I can do all of this, and then it's like, oh, we get a little bit ahead of ourselves. So it sounds like you've got a really good grasp on kind of like balancing the two so that you can still really enjoy the work that you do and really give from a full cup. Because I think, like you say, that's one of the most important things. And we're both in kind of energy work um and as more introverted empathetic people and sensitive people, it can be easy for the energy to quickly drain. So being able to A, fill your cup up, and then B, know when to say no, and also to yeah, allow yourself that time so that you can really show up. Because like you say, if you're showing up with half a cup, it's not really fair on the people turning up too, you know? So being able to really give them and honor them in that space. And I love that you have these practices and these habits that really support you. because it's leading by example, isn't it? You know, because 9 times out of
Yeah.
10, people are probably coming to you, maybe with a similar reason you went to breathwork is because of anxiety and stress. And it's like, well, why is that? And it's like, well, because I'm stretching myself in all these other areas. So then it's like, oh, well,
Yes.
be the example, show like actually what it is to do self-care first, so that then they can see that. And I think that that's what's a beautiful trait as a leader, is to be able to do the things that you're actually sharing with others.
Absolutely. And there's something that was so wonderful about coming to your women's circles, Molly, was like hearing all the women that were just like, I'm not just like, no, I'm not going to do that. And like, I just don't want to go to that event, not feeling like, um, that there's any pressure to be a certain way or to just be like, I'm honoring myself and my energy levels and what I need to do. And I am unapologetic about it. And I found that really inspiring. And yeah, I'm getting better at
Mm.
it, but it's a
Oh,
practice
hundred
because
percent.
people feeling and all the things. Yeah.
100%. And I'm still with you on it too. Like I'm still on the in between. I've like stretched myself a little bit too much energetically this week. So I need to like recalibrate. I think it's a constant learning. And I think whenever you're growing and expanding as a human, and if you're in the self-development space, naturally that's going to happen. You're constantly finding your new edges, otherwise you don't grow. But sometimes that comes with a little bit of a cost, because it's like, oh, that I just made two commitments too much, you know? But it's like now I know. And sometimes it's in those two commitments that allow you to expand your nervous system, so that next time those two commitments are like easy, you know? So, but we don't know. Sometimes we have to test. So also giving ourselves that grace that, yeah, we're not gonna always keep it in the energetic line of like, I'm good. Sometimes we are gonna stretch, but then we just recalibrate, and then we take that into consideration over the next coming days, because it's not taught to us. It's not taught to us any of this energy management, not like having to feel guilty for not showing up at things, especially as a woman, feeling like we have to kind of do everything for everyone, because we want to, and because that's kind of our role. And it is okay to say no. It's okay.
Yes. Yes. No is a full sentence.
Yes, yes, no. I love it. So I guess kind of my final question is, are there any myths around breath that you hear? Is there anything that people come to you with like an idea of what breath is, and you're like, it's not like that at all? Or any kind of your own experience, within like the myths around breath work?
Yeah, I would say like I still, you know, get some people saying um like people pay you to breathe, like we breathe every day, all day, and find it really hard to understand how like breathing could, you know, release emotions or trauma. And yeah, if you're not in this world, and before I went to a session, I didn't know this was a thing either. Um and I think it's good to question, and to be skeptical in a way, because there are so many different types of wellness things you can try, and it's really important that, yeah, that you feel comfortable with it, feel safe with it. um but I would say that, yeah, you're putting your body into this state for a short time, a bit of a stressed situation, I guess, like doing ice baths. You're stressing your body for a short time, but the benefits are, um, you know, there are so many. And it's kind of the same with this. It's a type of technique that you do, but there are so many benefits to it, and it is a bit unusual. You do have to be open-minded, and and like I guess wanting to come for a reason. Like, is there something you want to work on? Because yeah, you could also come and feel nothing if you're coming with this intention of, well, this isn't going to work, and very close-minded, and you're not ready as well, to access those parts of yourself. So it's definitely something that um, I I never push anyone to come. I'm like, if you're curious, come try it and see what you think, Um, but I think you have to, yes, feel ready, and that it's something you want to try. That's the only way that you will get the results. Yes, it's being in that place and being open to it, and yeah. And I think just hearing from other people that have been, like, their experience, and all I can do is share what's happened with me and how I found it, how it's helped me, and if that resonates, well, great.
Mm.
Yeah.
What would you say, just on that, what would you say some of the biggest impact breath has had on your life for you personally?
um I would say, well, firstly, it, like, the reason I was finding it was because of anxiety, and it has really helped me with that, absolutely. um and but more than that, I feel like it's helped me to be um a glass half full type of person, to really see the goodness in the world, to be more present, to feel more love, to feel connection to the people, to the world around me, to just feel like so grateful, and really acknowledge just how lucky we are to be here, and this time is precious, and like that, some of the stuff we're worrying about, and that we're carrying around, like, you can let that go, and really be here and enjoy this time that we have, and make the most of the time that you have with the people that you love. And um it's just helped me in so many ways, and yeah, every time I do it, I'm like, wow, it's opened my mind to also to what's possible, and to, yeah, really believe in myself, um and that, yeah, what you want in life, like, you can achieve with this, like, self-belief and confidence, and to, like, take away the negative self-talk, and yeah, expand the possibilities. Yeah.
Mm. Wow, I love that so much. I love how much of an impact it's had on you, and I can feel it. I can feel how passionate you are about it, and it's obviously coming out through your work. And if you would be open to it, I would love if we could kind of close with some kind of guided breath or little exercise maybe that you can take us through, so we can also get to like tune into this magic.
Sure. I would love to. So the little meditation we're going to do, it's basically just something short, simple, that you can do. If you're ever feeling anxious, stressed, also as a reset during the day, if you need to, just to bring yourself back to the breath. So want to get really comfortable where you're seated, feet on the floor, feel really grounded. And you're going to be breathing in and out through the nose. So just start to become aware of your breath. And you're trying to slow the breath down. And really noticing the texture, the sensation of the breath. The temperature as it flows in and out through the nose. Trying to release any tension in your forehead or your jaw. With every exhale, feel your body relax a little more. And now try and focus your breath deep down into the belly. If you want to put a hand on your belly, there's some resistance there, and as you inhale, you can feel your belly get pushed out. Your belly is filling up like a balloon. Feel that expansion. And as you breathe in, imagine you are breathing in to every cell, every ligament, every part of your body. Whatever you were doing before this session, you're doing after, try to release those thoughts. And with every breath, bring yourself into the here and now. A couple more slow, deep breaths. Bringing yourself into this moment. Gently open your eyes.
Oh,
Welcome back.
wow. Thank you so much. Oh, that was so nice. So nice just to breathe and be, right? Thank you so much for taking us through that. It's incredible how something that seems so simple and is for free can go such a long way. And I really felt like my nervous system and my breath just to like reconnect. So thank you for sharing that with us. Really beautiful. Really, really
Thank you.
beautiful. So, if anyone wants to work with you, if anyone's listening to this and they're like, how can I connect with you? How can I learn more? Where's the best place to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I do sessions currently in person in Bali, every Tuesday evening at the Path, and once a month at Udara Sunday Festival, and also do online sessions, some group sessions, some private sessions. So you can find me at breathewithkat.com. All my details are there and explains a bit about, yeah, what happens in a session, and yeah.
Amazing. And I'll put all the links below this so that everyone can reach out to you via social media or your website as well. Kat, thank you so much once again for sharing your wisdom, your energy, your beautiful energy, your time, and your knowledge with us. And you have definitely inspired me to open up into a whole new world of breathwork that I didn't even fully know was there. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Molly. It's such a honor to be asked to speak today, and I love everything that you're doing, and thank you for your energy and, yeah, asking me to come along. Thank you.
Thank you so much.